Hello. This is the player editor for Octo expansion, I think. This is the music. I don't know. I try to mix it up every now and then. I know I've used this one before. I like the Octo expansion music better than anything else, so I try to play as much Octo expansion as possible. Not early. This is the warm-up show. I literally just got home, turned on the stream, and then did everything. Unless I didn't. I'm hungry. I'm not a big fan of streams where people just eat stuff, but y'all can just let me be a hypocrite for a bit. I'll at least mute myself. Yes, I'm aware now. Thank you. I forgot, it's like a extension or something. My extension, score overlay. This is why we do the pre-show. Score overlay. Yeah, how do I turn it off? Alright, is it off now? We're money matching on the Popcast. Looks good. Okay. It's funny because some people were saying they couldn't see the overlay during the actual stream. I didn't know. I don't think this extension didn't work. On mobile or something like that. Oh. Sorry, gooey gas. Carrot hasn't showed me how to do that yet, so thus I don't know how to do it. This Carrot is my only source of to figure that out. Thank you for the follow, my gamer Poke. I couldn't read all of that. Yes, JPEG. Yeah, yeah. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, well, you're getting hyped over the Week 1 Ludi playoff sets that some of you played in or watched, speculating about a possible Switch Pro announcement at E3, making borderline uncomfortable memes about the Logan Paul Mayweather fight. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Interesting week, to say the least. The organization that led us into a revolt against Nintendo during the NA Open is now being openly revolted against. A bizarre plot twist that I didn't really see coming. We're going to be talking about that to some extent today on the podcast. First off, some news that we want to plug, as we always do here. Low Inc. is coming back on June the 26th and the 27th. That is the last weekend of the month, for this month, I should say. A couple of weeks away. I guess there's some things we're working on, but I guess the big news, or I can't remember if I said this on the last podcast or not, or this came out or whatever, but Div 4 is officially gone this time around. As you've seen in the exemption request, any Div 4 team has been auto banned. So we had to let go of some good teams that have played in a lot of low inks, and it's sad to see them go. But it's time, little birdies, go fly off into SAC and have fun whenever that thing comes back. Today, well, we're going to be discussing Riptide, not just the slimy situation, but the LAN itself. There's a lot of things about Riptide that I am really excited about, mainly the team that I got that has just got confirmed earlier today. Super excited about that. But we will be touching on the in-game TV controversy, as well as bringing in Kraken Mayer, the spokesperson for Splat Safety. I reached out to Splat Safety last night. I was like, hey, all this stuff is going on. I would assume you guys are going to say no, but I would want to at least offer an opportunity for you guys to make some statements on some things that are going on. And Splat Safety was cool and like, yeah, we'll do that. And I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting this. So we're going to ask them a lot of questions that I think are going to, I don't know if they'll clear up some things that are going on, but it will at least help get some voices out there, some people that are actually involved in this situation other than people like me that are just commentating on it. So super excited about that. That's going to be coming up after we get through all this other stuff. But first, it is time to recap the week. Let's see how fast we can go through this. Madhouse, or Chat House, whatever they're calling themselves nowadays, played in both SOS and Testing Grounds for IPL this past week and won them both. I don't know how many times we've had a team sweep a week of IPL. So I wouldn't say this is the first time, but congratulations to Madhouse. I'm sure this is a small list of teams that have both signed up for both tournaments in the same week and won them both. So congratulations to Madhouse. They beat Micklin Heroes in Testing Grounds, who finished in third place in Testing Grounds and second place in Testing Grounds and third place in SOS. So congratulations to Micklin Heroes as well. Another team I want to point out from the IPL tournaments, Summit was a new project. They said they were a project, which means that they'll eventually become a team and then disband when they realize they hate each other. The players making up this team, Havoc, Leo, Q, and Pony. These guys did really good in this tournament. Went 5-0 during the Swiss stage. Ultimately fell. I believe Micklin Heroes got the best of them in the semifinals of Top Cut of that tournament. So they ended up taking the bronze medal in Testing Ground. But Summit, excited about Summit, wanting to see some more of these guys. Hopefully they do become an actual team. Be cool to see them. Other teams that made Top Cut in the Testing Ground tournament with IPL that are notable: Thimbo IHOP. Hey, I see you guys. IPL just barely missed making Top Cut in this tournament, finished in 6th place, but good to see them back. The more we see ITAP D-Russ, the closer they're going to be to becoming that alpha bracket monster that we expected them to be at the end of last two of the fall semester. Moving right along, let's hit up the Midway Tournament. We talked about Micklin Heroes. They finished in 3rd and 2nd place in the two tournaments in IPL this past week. Well, they played in Midway and kicked some booty here. Going 4-1 in the Swiss, and then ended up winning gold bracket, beating Ice Shard, who collected a silver medal in this tournament. A team I want to point out from Midway who did really well here. How about Twice? Div 4 Twice. Almost took the bronze medal, going 2-3 against Universal in a best of 5 set in the bronze medal match, but still Twice making all the way to gold bracket and finishing in the top 4 in this tournament. Pretty significant. I see you, Twice. They're starting to make me regret putting them in 4th place when, or in Div 4, when I probably should have made a better case for them to be in Div 3, but they're not taking my spot. The top 8 teams for Midway, since the 4 tournaments have concluded from top to bottom. Number 1, Micklin Heroes. Number 2, Ice Shard. 3, Pure Divinity. 4, Carnage Gaming. 5, Universal. Number 6, The Boys, not to be confused with team number 7, See Boys. And number 8, Stargaze. Moving right along, one more tournament to cover here. Squid Junction. Number 7 took place on Saturday as well. 18 teams signed up for this one, which ties a record for them for the most teams they've had sign up for their tournament, which is good. Hey, Ludi's starting to wind down. Teams are coming back to some of these tournaments. Oh, the community's dying. People aren't signing up for tournaments. No, they're just busy doing something else competitive. Now they're starting to come back. Squid Junction 7 happened, though. The team that won this was just smiley face that just a semicolon in the half circle or whatever. The players on this team, I guess it's just a pickup: Kim, Jimmy, Red Rum, and Isabella. And they beat a team called Flush Emoji, which I think is just Carnage Gaming. I looked at the roster for this, and it's like most of these guys, if not all of them, are on Carnage Gaming. So maybe they just lost their sponsorship for a night. Who knows? Carnage Gaming ended up taking second place. A lot of low-level teams signed up for this tournament, and one of them flexed on all of them. I'm talking about Deep Fried... excuse me. The Deep Fried Octolings. They don't put the "the" in there for no reason. Ended up in third place in this tournament out of 18 teams, beating OK Woomer, CIA, Thimbo, IHOP, and Ink Sync, taking third place overall in this tournament. Congratulations to Thimbo, IHOP, or excuse me, Deep Fried Octolings. Oh, excuse me. The Deep Fried Octolings. And that was your weekend recap sponsored by IPL. I'm just kidding. They don't actually sponsor it. Hey, if you're an actual big name organization and you would like to sponsor the Popcast, well, don't listen to this rant I'm about to do. Maybe you won't be so interested, but DM me now. Stop the stream now and DM me, and then don't listen to anything else I might have to say. Regardless, we're moving on. Also, I hear Doritos is interested. So, Riptide got announced. For the first time since January of 2020, a Splatoon LAN is returning to planet Earth after 21 months later. Riptide's been announced for September the 10th through the 12th in Sandusky, Ohio, which is near Cleveland. I believe it's just like an hour west of Cleveland, if you want some reference there. So Cleveland's up there by whatever lake that is, Lake Erie, I'm going to guess. So it's right off the lake up top there. So it's a really cool, it's a cool little location for this event. If you recall, Riptide was supposed to happen last year. That was going to be the first Riptide. Unfortunately, the coronavirus swept through the entire world and canceled a ton of things, as you're familiar with. Beacon was the first domino to fall back in May of 2020. And then it was kind of a, when Beacon fell, everybody was talking about, well, are they going to cancel Riptide? And my first thought was, I think we're going to be lucky if we even get a Genesis in next January, which obviously we didn't. It was a little wait canceling Riptide. The main reason for that was it was just kind of tied up in some insurance. There's a lot of things that happen during LANs that are obviously way different from just running an online tournament. A lot of paperwork involved and things like that. So the cancellation of Riptide was something we all saw coming and kind of sucked. So now that it came back, I think everybody is clearly pretty excited for it. Myself included. And I know a ton of people were excited before it because you just look at what happened during the registration. The registration opened at 3 p.m. last Wednesday, if I'm just going off of the tweets that came out. Maybe it opened sooner than that, I don't know. But it closed at 6:34 p.m., also according to a tweet. So it was open for roughly 3 hours and 30 minutes, at which point it had filled up. 1,000 people signed up for a tournament that was announced in 3.5 hours. It just announced, like maybe there were some people that knew that this was going to be announced, but I was taking a bath watching watching the anime on Funimation or something like that, and then the ping comes down from the Squid West server of all places that was like, "Hey, Riptide's coming back," and I'm like, "Wow, whoa!" And then I see this other tweet like an hour or so later, maybe 2 hours later, that was, "Hey, it's already 65% filled. You need to register now." I was like, "Oh crap! I guess I might as well register." Which was which caught a lot of which caught a lot of people off guard, was just how quickly it filled up. I registered. Normally you want to like figure out who your team is before you register, but when I saw that, I was like, okay, I need to get a spot now and then just figure this crap out later. Luckily, I have, and I'm very excited about the team that I got going. But after the 1,000 attendees registered, which was roughly 18 Splatoon teams, on Friday, it reopened and pretty much doubled. And I mean, these things went fast. It was like a Taylor Swift concert where everybody just bought a ticket as quickly as they can. I looked earlier this morning. It looks like registration is currently closed. I think it did cap the total of registrants on Smash GD are 1,962. Yeah, and yes, no, there's not a 2,000 people playing Splatoon at this event. The vast majority of these people are playing Smash Brothers, which is great. Some people were complaining, Smash Brothers are taking up all these spots. You idiots. If it wasn't for Smash Brothers, we wouldn't even have a Splatoon LAN at this size. We are the sideshow. Okay, we are the side event at this organization. I want you to realize that. So we should be kicking the shins of Big Brother. We should be more so, hey, thanks for letting us be a part of this. So don't. Plus, they kind of saved our butts back in December. You know what I'm talking about. Notable teams that have signed up for this tournament, or at least teams that have been put together. First off, I got to give a shout out to the college kids. University of California, San Diego, and Inkling Technology at Purdue, both teams that are actually sponsored by their universities. I hope those universities paid for their registration and their room and board and all that stuff. I don't know. I'd be interested to see if they do, because I mean, otherwise, what's the point of taking on the name of your university if they're not going to help you actually go forth and try to participate in things like this? Hopefully San Diego and ITAP can play against each other on stream. That would be awesome to see. A2P, Salt and Peppers going, and also some other team called like Assault and Knuckles or something like that. I didn't quite catch what was going on with that, but okay. Thimbo IHOP, I see you, Thimbo IHOP. Yes, sir, that's going to be awesome to see them there. A couple of teams that have been dead and gone have come back from the grave. I see Fiction signed up. Good to see them come back. Splat Force 2, Electric Boogaloo is making a return, or at least Avril and Todd. I didn't see who the other two members on that Splat Force team are coming back, but still seeing the Splat Force brand again and the Fiction brand again out in action. That's awesome to see. Ink Eye is going to be signing up. Ink Eye, a prominent team, a really improving team in low ink. Good to see some low ink teams showing up and showing out in this tournament. Carnage Gaming going there, of course, one of the few sponsored teams we have. Now, I think FT Win signed up for this, or at least I saw Kyo signed up. I don't know if all of FT Win is going to this or not. But when I saw, when it was initially capped at with the 1,000, the first round, and I saw Kyo got in, and I was thinking FT Win was playing, I was like, all right, we need to make sure somebody else gets in here, or this is just going to be a total crap show when it comes to grand finals. So now Starburst is playing. Climb is in there. Madhouse, I mean, they can't compete with these kind of guys, but Madhouse is still a strong team who will be a notable team to play against for sure. And these are just some of the teams. Obviously, there's a ton of other teams. It's hard to like search specifically right now, because if you don't have your full team put together, then it's gonna, when you look at attendees, it's gonna get mixed up with like the Smash stuff. So we'll know more about the actual teams that are playing in this as we're going forward. But already, just looking at some of these teams that are actually notable, and I've talked about on the Popcast, or in they're teams you actually know. It's cool to see that these guys are going, and it's going to be awesome to see. Let's talk about the pandemic-sized elephant in the room, and the question a lot of people are bringing up. Is this too soon? A perfectly fair question to ask. And let me preface it with this. I, believe it or not, am not a health professional. You idiots in chat, or the idiots listening to me on Spotify, are not health professionals either. The people at in-game TV or the ones who actually run the venue are not health professionals. I don't know them personally. But what I want to point that out, because I don't want to be somebody else who just comes on here and just explains, oh, we'll be fine. You've been vaccinated, you're fine. If you've been exposed to this, you're fine. Like, I don't want to spread information that I don't know anything about. So this isn't, when I start to say these things, keep that in mind, that I don't know anything about the virus other than what the CDC and the guidelines for each state say we need to know about this kind of thing. Same goes for you. With that being said, I will say this. This is not like going to your family's barbecue on Memorial Day like you might have done a couple of weeks ago. This is about 2,000 people going to an airport, getting on an airplane, interacting with hundreds of other people at that airport and on that airplane from across the entire country, flying into one location in Ohio to be in one facility. That's contact tracing about, 100,000 plus when you put it in that kind of perspective. So this is a little bit of a different animal than what you've probably did. When people come out and say, yeah, if you're vaccinated and you want to get together with your family and friends, that's totally cool. They didn't mean your family and friends from across the entire planet and then all of their family and friends and then all the schmucks they interacted with at the airport. This is a little bit different. And I think we should all kind of understand that. Now, guidelines are going to be in place for this tournament. I'm not interviewing the CDC, no. Obviously, masks are required, social distancing. Now, my first thought was, how does social distancing work? Because I've been at a LAN. You wear the headset so you can talk to your teammate sitting next to you. So all that needs to be wiped down constantly every time a team changes stations. And how big are these tables going to be? My first thought was, well, 4 people sitting at a table 6 feet apart. So you need a 24-foot table. No, you don't. I drew it out and did the math in my head. You actually just need an 18-foot table because you have 2 people in the end and 2 people in the middle. So you just got 6, 6, and 6. So it's 18. So I'm just trying to picture in my head, like, okay, I'm just shy of 6 feet. So if I just spread myself out 3 times, that's how long it is. I don't know if like what an 18-foot size table looks like, or if they're even going to be bigger than that. But regardless, there are obviously measures in place that are not just in-game TV coming up with, that are not just the venue they're at that is coming up with. They have to follow the guidelines set from the state of Ohio, and I'm sure the federal government has some jurisdiction over that as well. This is why I say I'm not a health professional, because I don't truly know these things. I'll say this, though. If this tournament was held in Texas, everything's out the window. They don't give a hell over there. I'll tell you, they had a world record crowd watch a boxing match last month. 90,000 plus people watched a boxing match in Texas last month. So just be thankful this is in a state that at least somewhat cares, I guess. I mean, they're doing a raffle for like people to get vaccinated to basically win the lottery. So they're at least trying to do something to get people vaccinated. So congratulations, Ohio. Now, one thing I do want to point out. There are people calling the safety into this event into question. Some people that are very active telling people not to go. You shouldn't go because of the pandemic that's going on. I want you guys to kind of understand something. You have no idea where that person is coming from, what kind of year that person had in the past year. For all you know, the person that is actively, and I'm not calling anybody out in general, but I'm just saying people who are actively against things like this could have spent the entire year staying home, following every single guideline, wiping down every single piece of grocery that they got at the grocery store that they got DoorDash to the store. Still caught COVID. Anyways, maybe they still don't have their taste or their sense of taste or smell back. Maybe this is obviously likely in our country. 500,000 of us died? It's very possible they know somebody, a loved one, a friend who died alone in a hospital where they had to say goodbye to them on an iPad. Like, you don't understand. You don't know. So we kind of got to be, when somebody's like actively against things like this happening, you got to take it with a little bit of understanding. I don't see any reasons to go after these kinds of people or to be like, here's the statement. I get, but I don't know. I don't know if we can fully enforce this statement just yet. It's the idea of, well, if you're vaccinated and you want to go, then fine. If you don't want to go, then that's fine too. The reason I don't agree with that statement is because at this point last year, you couldn't say that. Oh, if you want to get together at Memorial Day, go ahead. And if you don't, and you don't. No. We need all of you to not go to the Memorial Day with your family. That's the point. The fact that some people are and some aren't is what's keeping this wheel turning forever. So, but now we're a year later. A lot of this, we're in a post-vaccination era, I should say. Things are a little bit different. I understand that. And the good thing is, this is 3 months from now. Who knows where we're going to be in September? Hopefully things are going to keep on the trend that we're going. It's just going to keep getting better as more people get access to vaccines and more people are allowed to get vaccinated. And we learn more information about both the vaccines and the COVID virus, to where things are heading in a good direction, to where they're even better than what they are right now. For all we know, we could have a whole new strand of it floating around. God forbid, but we just don't know. So here's what I'll say with this. Just be kind of aware of things that are going on. Pay attention to what's going on more in Ohio, more specifically Sandusky for sure. Make sure you do get vaccinated. I've been saying every single episode, keep wearing your mask. Get vaccinated. I'm not going to go on a rant because I know this, for some oddball reason, this is a political issue, but just take care of yourself. And when somebody's like aggressively against something like this, try to be a little sensitive and understanding to where they're coming from, because you don't know where they're coming from. Regardless, my wife and I, as of now, are registered for this. We're excited to go. I think my wife got her pickup team completed over the weekend. I got my pickup team completed this morning. And I'm excited. I'm excited to meet a lot of you. I know a lot of you in chat I've never met before. And I know you are going to Riptide, so it's going to be awesome to see you. I know a lot of these teams. I'm excited to meet Thimbo IHOP. I'm excited to meet ITAP. USC San Diego is going to be awesome to see them. Ink Eye, because I talk about Ink Eye a lot, it gives me a better perspective when I talk about them again, when I've actually seen their faces, had like in-person conversations with them about things. So I'm excited to meet a lot of you. And that's really what this LAN is about. It's not about winning. It's about the friends we made along the way. Unless it's not. All right. Now, to the not so fun part. We're going from the pandemic elephant in the room to the slimy elephant in the room. You might be saying to yourself, who? Let me kind of provide some context into what I'm talking about here. First off, Slimy is a TO for in-game TV who's been banned by Splat Safety. That's the TLDR of that. Why? A lengthy, well-documented history of xenophobic tweets, specifically against French people. I'm not going to be one of these guys that just pulls up a twit longer and just breaks down line by line of everything that's happened. If you want that kind of content, I'm sure there's plenty of streams that have done that already at this point. Just to highlight, to give you an idea of what kind of xenophobic tweets I'm talking about, let me just list off a few just as an example. Here's a tweet, and I quote, "Daily reminder to bomb the French," end quote. This was poor timing because literally the day before this tweet was put out, which was on June 20th, 2017, bombing in France did actually happen. There was an ISIS attack on June the 19th, 2017. So a little poor. Well, first off, a dumb statement to make, and obviously extremely poor timing for that as well. Let me just read off one more tweet, and sorry if this offends anybody. I quote, "We gotta kill French people," end quote. This is just kind of a few that you can kind of get an idea of what's going on here. This doesn't include the dozens of tweets that have the N-word in it. The tweet, and now people were saying, "Well, Popgun, those tweets came out. You said all that 4 years ago." Yeah, how about 2 months ago when he tweeted out a thing that had the F word in it? And no, not the F word, not the FU word, the other F word that you should not be saying about a group of people. 2 months ago, after the ban, by the way. Clearly, a person who lacks judgment in how to express themselves is who this slimy character is. I guess the logic behind this is in a failed attempt to point out the issues in France's history of being racist. I guess is the intent behind these radical, and these are radical tweets, by the way. I guess that's the reasoning behind it, but there has to be a better way. I mean, yeah, France has a lot of issues. Yes, I'm not the type of person to list them out or anything. Not to say our country doesn't have a lot of race issues ourselves, but there is one way to go about pointing issue to that doesn't call basically for genocide, believe it or not. Now, it is a little murky how this was handled by Splat Safety. In-game TV is claiming that he was initially warned about the tweets that he was given out, in which he backed off, and he apologized not publicly but to whoever, and just backed off and didn't do that. Then public backlash started to hit when it became more mainstream. All of these tweets somebody made. A lengthy tweet kind of detailing tweet by tweet all the things that Slimy has done over several years. When this kind of came out, In-Game TV and another separate staff member of In-Game TV who has come out publicly basically have said that because of the public backlash, the punishment elevated from just being a warning to an 8-month ban, which would include the month of September. Now, we will have Kraken Mayer from Splat Safety on shortly to explain what Splat Safety is and their role in all of this. But I do want to point out something. Splat Safety is a suggestion, not a law. What's the Pirates of the Caribbean when they're talking about the pirate code, and they're just like, it's just more of a guideline kind of thing, and they just stretch the rule to mean whatever they want it to mean at the current scene. But this isn't, and it's on, yes, it's this, the Splat Safety can make a decision on who to ban, who can't, but it's on the actual organizations to uphold Splat Safety's bans. And a lot of organizations come out and make their own bans anyway, either publicly or privately. So it's not like they need to completely rely on Splat Safety. It's not like people were getting banned long before Splat Safety was a thing. People were getting banned. It just wasn't widely publicized. Or the confusion is that people didn't know where to go if they felt threatened or not safe in the community, which is where Splat Safety comes into play. Which comes into the question of who are the people behind this? Well, it's not just some ragtag group of vigilantes who fight in the shadows like they're the Ninja Turtles or something. It was founded and supported by the major Splatoon organizations, including In-Game TV. Quote from the statement they released yesterday about Slimy: as founding signatories of the Code of Conduct, and we do not take the decision to reject the Council's recommendations lightly, end quote. So they admit that they are a big part of creating Splat Safety. They basically created a third-party organization and went out and said, hey, go find the fraud in this community. And then Splat Safety came back and said, hey, we found the fraud. It's you. It was you guys all along. You take off the Scooby-Doo mask. There it is. And they're like, whoa. You weren't supposed to come after us. You were supposed to get all the other guys. What? No. We're good. What are you doing here? In-Game TV was well within their rights to conduct their own independent search, their own independent investigation into any claim that's brought against one of their members. They can absolutely do that. They're well within their right to say that we looked at the claims that the Code of Conduct made against our guy and come out and say that we don't agree with the statement or with the ban, and we're not going to uphold it as part of our organization. On the flip side, we, the peanut gallery, as somebody called us earlier today, have the right to come back and say to In-Game TV, you screwed this up big time. Now, a couple of members have started to step down from In-Game TV. In Beta Beta, one of the members of In-Game TV has come out and kind of released like a statement. I feel like a couple of people have released statements of their point of view of what happened from In-Game TV's perspective. Not really like whistleblowing or anything like that, but at least just giving some insight of like, hey, not everyone part of this organization is fully on board with what happened here. It's very obvious that everyone involved in In-Game doesn't fully agree with this decision. I've been there. I'm currently there. With my IRL job, I'm not going to dox what I do, but my IRL job involves a lot of times where I have to do something and make some sort of public statement that I know in the back of my head, I don't fully agree with this. And I know everybody is going to be angry when I do this. And it's going to be a bunch of pitchforks outside my office when this happens. It's not fun. It sucks. You lose sleep over that. However, if you can't handle that, if I can't handle that, then I don't need to have that job. I need to go somewhere else and let somebody else do that job. It sucks. I get that. But I think we're starting to see some people from In-Game TV realize I can't do this. I need to go do something else. As for the official statement, you have to think that some people at In-Game TV aren't proud of that statement that got released yesterday. And you can understand why. At no point did in-game TV condemn the statement Slimy made. At no point. There was no, we understand the things he says are wrong. We find them disgusting. We set Slimy down, had a thought, and you were like, young man, you don't be tweeting stuff like this. No, at no point in that article they released did they condemn a single thing that Slimy said. They mentioned it. They said, this is why this is why Slimy got banned, because he said this and this and this. And then just went on about a 3-paragraph full frontal defense, defending the honor and character. Oh, Slimy's the best TO this community has ever had. We can all look past that. We looked at all of this and we found no wrongdoing. We don't agree with what the COC that we came up with, by the way, or helped came up with. We're signatories, as they claim. We just don't agree with it. Here's some quotes from the statement they made yesterday. This is about the review they did of the band. His remarks may have been grounds for the previously issued warning. So they're talking about the warning may have, he may have said some things that were to desire a warning. It may have. They were clearly not representative of his true character. Well, I don't know who that is clear to, because clearly we're not reading the same tweets here. Now, I understand there is a difference between knowing somebody in person versus knowing the person that they project themselves to be, but that's not the person that we're seeing here. And look, I've interacted with Slimy before. Slimy has been a commentator with me on Low Ink. Back in February, back before this band came out. Slimy was the one who helped distribute the money when you had like a free Melee in your team's name for the NA Open. Slimy was the one DMing everybody to get that set up. And I remember telling him after he gave us the money that people donated to us, that he was doing a good job, and I thanked him for it. But I didn't know. This the people you know, and then the side of that person you don't know. Here's the most damning thing. They called the 8th month ban egregiously unwarranted, and then follow that up with their paragraph about how he's the best TO ever and how could we survive without him. Egregiously unwarranted. People are talking about how this undermines Splat's safety. This language does exactly that. You created Splat Safety. Splat Safety said, we are banning this player for 8 months. And in-game's response to that is, this is egregiously unwarranted. Did we look at the same tweets? Did we look at the same information giving out here? What is your definition of egregiously unwarranted? Because it is vastly different from what every other human being on this planet would look at, I would imagine. And the response from Slimy, no apology. There's been no apology. It was a statement released yesterday. It literally said, I'm not apologizing. I simply cannot apologize for being xenophobic when French/white people are simply not the victim here. What the hell is that? I simply can't apologize for being xenophobic. This is not the 1950s. You can't say things like that. That is the very problem that you are trying to solve as this radical justice warrior calling out French people. You can't in turn go down and say, I am not apologizing for being xenophobic. Those words cannot combine into the same sentence. That is the apology. That is what he released in in-game TV. It says, this is the person we want running our lands. This is a joke, bro. That is an absolute joke. There has to be something we're missing here. There has to be. Like, Like either Slimy has connections with Smash, the Smash players who host the venue, or he brings something to the table. Like maybe he has the access to the connections to get all the equipment that they need, or something. Like there has to be something here to where if in-game TV were to cut ties with Slimy, that this event could not run. Like like we can't make up what they would lose by having Slimy gone in the 3 months between now and the next event. That has to be what's going on here, because I don't speak for other people. You guys know that, but there's no way that people can look at everything that's been coming out here and think, yeah, I'm willing to die on my sword. I'm willing to gamble our organization on this guy. There's no way. And several people, there's been several backlash because of this already. 3, I think 4 now, don't correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 4 in-game TV staff members have already come out and announced their resignation, either effective immediately or after the upcoming Riptide tournament. Splat News, the good Splat News Twitter account, not the horrible one, has come out and said that they are not promoting or supporting any in-game TV events going forward until further notice. Wow, that's significant. That is actually pretty significant. Several top players have tweeted and released documents on their displeasure with in-game TV's decision. And to wrap this all up, because I want to give Splat Safety an opportunity to tell their side of the story of what's been going on here. Here is my ultimate thought with all of this. Yes, Slimy's been banned for 8 months, and rightfully so. There doesn't need to be anything beyond that. But we cannot have a TO at this level making these kinds of statements at any point. We need to hold TOs to a higher standard. I am a head TO for Low Wink. I don't run LANs or anything like that. But you guys need to hold me to a higher standard. And if I can't take it, then I need to get out and let somebody else take the job for me. Okay? That's why I'm saying this. I am calling for Slimy. You need to step down from in-game TV. Accept your 8-month ban and then come back to playing with whoever take you. But you do not need to be TOing in this community. You do not. You claim to love this community and care about it. If you do, then you need to recognize the best thing right now is for you to step down and leave the TOing side of the community. If you love us, you'll let us go. Please. With that being said, for the rest of the community, it is time that we listen to the organization that actually tries to keep us safe. So let's begin by bringing in Kraken Mayor in just a second. I don't even have Discord up. That's probably a definitive feature that we need to have here. And I also need to turn you up, so that works as well. How's that work out? Hello.
Hi, Popgun. How you doing?
Good. Doing all
Hope
right.
you can hear me all right.
I can hear you. And welcome into the Popcast. The official spokesperson for the Splat Safety, Kraken Mayor. Welcome into the Popcast. Thank you. Hey, thank you for coming on representing Splat Safety. I was legitimately surprised that you guys agreed to be on something like this. Not that I'm going to set you up or get some gotcha questions or anything, but thank you initially for at least coming on.
Hey, you know what? I appreciate you contacting us, and you know what? Tough questions aren't a bad thing, though. Just don't do gotcha questions. Totally agree with that.
Everything was sent ahead of time. We try not to trick people here on the podcast, and anyways, let's get right into it. So what led to the initial creation of Splat Safety?
Well, Splat Safety, I'm gonna admit it did start before I was involved, of course. Splat Safety did start all the way. It has roots all the way back to 2016. With Endgame working with like GSM and whatnot to work with some problematic people that have been banned. You talked about a little bit prior that some people got banned before Splat Safety existed, and that kind of group that kind of handled that eventually came to become Splat Safety in the long term. So it came as a need, so that way they didn't have to consistently, have these groups of TOs from all over the place make different decisions. We could have a more unified approach as a community, and you don't have to have every single TO of every organization. You don't need Ludi, you don't need GSM, you don't need Endgame, you don't need now IPL. You don't need the former Inc. TV. You don't need them all to make their own different decisions. Splat Safety can kind of look at the details, make a recommendation, and then these TOs and organizations can go forward with those recommendations.
Do you know what organizations were involved initially? I know you weren't there during the creation, but could you name what specific organizations were involved in the initial creation of Splat Safety?
Of course, we mentioned EGTV. They were obviously a huge involvement, but also GSM and Inc. TV. So they were all part of it. That is actually straight from Splat Safety's Twitter. You can go back there in its creation. Those three really came together to create this organization to, like I said, have a more unified approach across the entire community. Because at the time, they were basically the two big boys in the community. Well, three, including GSM, but GSM and EGTV were quite, together. But, those were the big boys in the community. Come together. All right, let's have a unified approach. Let's be good for the community. Let's try to remove people that are actually a problem in the community.
Now, you are the only member of Splat Safety that people know is actually on Splat Safety. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. There's a few others that don't necessarily scream at the top of their lungs. They don't go on the safety Twitter with a video.
Right.
But
With your face
there's
and
people.
everything. Yeah.
There's people like Allie that she totally gave me a thumbs up to, give her a shout out. She's one of those members. She's a supervisor there at Splat Safety. She's kind of known. She was there's some people that may have helped with Splat or been involved with Splat Safety, submitting case and stuff. They might have talked to Allie at different times. And Allie is a member of EGTV. Not so much anymore. Not quite the most active member anymore. Not someone you see like Kbot or whatnot. But nonetheless, an important member of Splat Safety and one of those members. And there's a few other ones that again don't quite shout it at the top of their lungs, but I believe have mentioned on Twitter a couple times. I don't want to give them a shout out just because I don't know. I haven't talked to them to give them a shout out. So there are a few. Not everyone is. There's a few that I know are very explicit about not being out there just because they're worried about if they're different family members. If somebody does decide to DDoS or dox anybody, they don't want their family members or anybody close to them potentially being harmed. So there's those few members, and it's super understandable, I think, when you think about that side of it.
Now, I did send you a list of questions, and you didn't say, no, I can't ask any of them. So I'm just going to keep going. But this one might be a little personal. I was just curious, since you are the face of Splat Safety, have you ever been personally threatened or targeted as a part of any kind of investigation that involves Splat Safety?
No, we've never really had any of that. I even talked to people that were prior to me coming on, and they said, we haven't really ever had that. The community has accepted the punishments, even if they've been vocal about it. There's been plenty of reason, hey, we don't like this band. We kind of see that with a little bit of the slimy. It's understandable, but no actual threats, especially any that have any merit behind them. So, shout out to the community. Even if you don't agree with us, keeping it peaceful.
Could you explain the process of what happens from the moment where somebody, I guess, DMs you guys hey, this has been going on, or a complaint basically, to the point to where something a decision is made either publicly or privately? What is the process like?
Well, first, you can go ahead and contact us at Splat Safety on Twitter, or you can use the email splatsafety@gmail.com. So both of those are ways to come into us. Don't, necessarily DM us. It's not the end of the world if you do, but we'll most likely push you that way. Just for official records and whatnot, it's a little bit easier to go to those two sources first. But of course, if you have a question with Splat Safety, feel free to DM us. Little side note there. But yeah, so we get these cases brought to us there, and we'll usually review it, see if there is even really a case, because sometimes it's just a little bit of drama that is just like, all right, y'all just need to chill out. We understand. We understand. Sometimes those things get heated, but and whatnot. But there's genuinely serious ones. We've seen many of those throughout the time. And then what we do at Splat Safety, like I said, we continue to look through it. We will usually contact the person that is accused with different questions. If we can show the evidence, because some evidence is hard to use because it will pin who the victim is, especially if there's a threat that the accused could go after the victim again. Right? There are a few cases that happens, and so if the victim is okay with it, we usually send as much evidence we can, especially if it's already been public and everything like that. Like, it makes it a little bit easier for them to try to defend themselves and whatnot. And sometimes the accused has really good cases. Sometimes things are out of context or whatnot, and then we'll usually, again, kind of regroup us, talk about it a little bit. If we have any additional questions for anybody, we kind of send them out, and then we usually try to then make that decision about bans and whatnot, and then release a public statement especially if it's something severe, long, or whatnot. If it's like a 1 month ban, sometimes we don't always put it quite public. Usually it's kept to just signatories then, but for the most part, we try to keep things as much public as we can.
Someone in chat asked a decent question. How long have you been on Splat Safety?
I have been on Splat Safety, I think, since the fall of 2020. So, a little bit after it was public, like that first time that they kind of were bringing on people from everywhere, like anybody can apply for it. I was in that first little group that was brought on after that. So yeah, about October, September, something like that.
Has there ever been a time other than this last weekend where an organization has come out and said, we are not upholding the ban that Splat Safety has given out on a specific player?
At least not publicly, anything that I know of. So this is the first time that I know of anything like that, where they just absolutely just, bam, we are not upholding this to, to the at least the full extent, and so this is really the first time in Splat Safety's history that this has happened. So it is definitely a new thing to deal with. And I can't say it's been a ride.
How would you describe the past, I guess, 48 hours? I know I didn't send you this question, but how would you describe it from Splat Safety's perspective?
I can't talk for all Splat Safety because
Right,
everyone's got their, and we haven't really talked as a group too much about it, other than just the occasional message. And even then, we have differing opinions within the group, right? But I'll tell you what, it's been crazy. It's something I've never seen, and it's been a long time since I've really seen the community this organized for the most part on one topic, right? We occasionally have the drama that's boom for a minute, right? And then it goes away. But this one's been pretty consistent now for a few days. We're talking about the Popcast. What it started almost now a week ago. It really started bubbling up. I think it was started Wednesday or something like that. And it's Monday, so you're talking almost a week now. It's been on a similar topic, and it's something that it's just crazy. There's just not really words for it. It's just been so exhausting to an extent because we've been monitoring the situation. I've been on it like crazy because I want to know what is going on. If Splat Safety needs to do any announcement or anything on it, which for the most part we have not. I haven't really had a reason to. I think everything is pretty public in the case. This is about the most that we're doing on that topic. something like this. So,
Right.
but personally, it's just been chaotic. Just keeping tabs on everything.
There's been and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you guys is that there's been a lot of people talking on your behalf, and I don't like those kinds of things because it's like secondhand information that may or may not be true. One thing I've seen several different people tweet is something like this: I spoke with Splat Safety, and unfortunately, they can only do so much outside monitoring the situation. They recommended players speak out about this. Um, is that the official stance of Splat Safety, recommending people speak out about what has been going on?
I mean, really, with any topic, right? The best thing you can do is speak out about it. If you are unhappy with the situation, you know, be polite, right? Don't be terrible people about it. But if you're unhappy with any situation outside of Splat Safety or in Splat Safety, definitely voice your opinion, right? That's why we have things like Twitter and whatnot. Like I said, don't be terrible people when it comes to this. But, you know, Splat Safety, of course, can't do anything. We don't have any necessarily teeth for this, right? Splat Safety is an advisory body. We advise what sort of punishments we think based on the evidence we get and whatnot. And, of course, groups are allowed to go against it. That is part of the code of conduct. Whether or not we agree personally on it, that is in our code of conduct. So, to kind of get back to the question, uh, that is it's just all about voicing your opinion if you're unhappy with that. But we just can monitor this situation.
One question I sent you, I kind of got to change. I sent you this statement that somebody had made, a in-game TV member had made, and it was kind of an interesting thing. However, I just looked on Twitter. This person has deleted that statement, and they seem to kind of regret some things are going on. So I'm to not bring any more attention to that person, I'm not going to read that statement they made. Fortunately for us, I can read a statement from the actual in-game TV, which roughly said the same kind of thing. But basically, it's this thought that initially Slimy was warned, if I'm going to quote directly from the in-game TV statement, in January 2021, Slimy was issued a warning by Splat Safety Council for remarks that were deemed derogatory towards French people. Slimy acknowledged this warning and has not made any similar statements to date. 2 months later, in response to a submission of a similar remark by Slimy from August of 2020, Splat Safety reopened the case and decided to recommend an 8th-month ban to signatory organizations. Basically, they're just coming out. They're not directly saying this. What some other people have said is that this is that Splat Safety already made a decision, but then added onto it based off of public. They were swayed by public perception. I wanted to get your thoughts on that kind of statement.
Yeah, totally understandable. But this is sort of comes from a misconception, right? So it is true there was a warning issued, and then a few months later there was the ban, right? So that is factually true. That is not going to be denied. But the thing that is missing here is the first time we had a submission, the evidence we had was just that one time, right? It was right around what was going on at the time. The original statements you talked about, that was about 2 months old approximately now, right? It was mostly around that time in the beginning of 2021. And we had nothing from the past. Well, a little bit later, we got additional evidence. So we did reopen the case. That is, again, factually true. The difference is the big thing that was in the conversation from Splat Safety is there was no history of this. That's why there was only a warning issued initially. But we got more evidence that it was not just a one-time thing. This had been going on for a long period of time. And, we don't take TOs doing this sort of stuff lightly. Admittedly, we have that in there. Things like people in power situations are going to be judged a little bit harshly. So it is not from public pressure. It did coincide around the same time as the public pressure. So I can see where that comes from, and I can see why that misconception exists. but it was because we purely got additional evidence of history that we didn't have prior to the like a month or so earlier.
But yeah, and basically, it seems like their argument is, well, you already got punished, so you can't go back, like double jeopardy or something like that. But if this was, if there was a murder trial and then new evidence came to life afterwards, I mean, we're obviously I'm not comparing this to a murder trial at all. I mean, that's a horrible comparison. But I mean, yeah, this is. If you're saying new evidence came to light, like you guys didn't find out something that you already knew. You were, oh, this runs deeper than what we originally thought.
Yes, correct. That's exactly what happened here. Is there was additional evidence again around the same time as that there was that public outcry of around that some of the additional new evidence. So that it was coinciding with public pressure, but it was not because of the public pressure. So like again, we can see where the misconception comes from.
Last question that I want to ask you:
Mhm.
does the decision that in-game TV to disregard the ban placed by Splat Safety on Slimy jeopardize the credibility of Splat Safety going forward?
You know, to an extent it does, but I believe the way the community has responded to this, I think the community definitely has belief in Splat Safety is doing the right thing. You know, admittedly, it's not perfect in many different ways, and we're always trying to reform to make things better. But it definitely at least puts that little bit of a dangerous precedent and a little bit of jeopardizing credibility of Splat Safety, right? But I think the public has kind of spoken on this one, and they kind of said, we even if we don't necessarily fully agree with the ban, like we think Splat Safety at least is trying to be in the right direction.
And I'm just going to give you one opportunity to just completely lose all credibility with everybody in the community. Go ahead, the floor is yours. Explain why Moray Tower should be allowed in competitive.
Um, Only on two modes, Splat Zones and Clamblitz. Just
Oh my gosh,
because those kind of follow.
Rainmaker's the only one that's decent. The good thing about Rainmaker on that one is that it's not an instant KO if you get wiped. It takes a little bit while, but no. Oh my gosh, Clamblitz. I'm gonna just
A brush main for context here.
Good.
Now, with that context, that makes everybody. It makes it a little bit better. Just a like 1% better.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, there you go. There we go. Kraken Mayor, the spokesperson for Splat Safety. Hey, thanks you again for coming on and answering our questions. I feel like this was a good thing that we kind of needed to hear at this kind of time. So I thank you again for that.
of course, anytime, Popgun, and anybody else, if you have questions, you can always DM me directly, or you can DM the Twitter or email. We'll do our best to answer any questions as best we can. Some things we can't always go into. We can't go into like details of a case or something like that, but we always like to answer those questions. And Popgun, I'm thankful for you to allow us to come on.
Yeah, well, I'll be sure to reach out to you guys next time something crazy like this happens. Hopefully it's a while. And that was Kraken Mayor, the head spokesperson, or the most outspoken person, I guess, of Splat Safety. Great interview there. We've had some good interviews back to back here on the Popcast. It's good to get these kind of voices out there. I will say this. Just kind of, I did not reach out to In-Game TV to be on this either. I probably should have. I'm pretty critical of them earlier, but just an open invite. If anybody on In-Game TV has something they would like to say or they would like to come onto the show, I do send out a list of questions ahead of time to these kinds of things. I'm not trying to corner anybody and get them into a situation to make them look stupid or anything like that. I'm not
Like Fern, I saw you ask a question in chat. I couldn't. That's a good question that you asked. The problem is I can't ask that because that would have been kind of a gotcha question of we're like, hey, come up with an answer with this on the spot representing the entire organization. When I didn't send that ahead of time, so that's. I thought you asked a good question, Fern, in chat. It's just that's why I couldn't ask him that, is that it wouldn't be fair to do so. So on in-game TV, anybody listening to this, if you want to come onto the podcast and you want to tell your side of the story, and we'll set up the actual questions beforehand, feel free to reach out to me at my socials below. Discord at Popgun, hashtag 5882. Twitter at Mr_Popgun. YouTube at 25 Popgun. Discord at Popgun 25. Hey, this new time that we're going here at 6:30, I don't know if this is going to be the future. My schedule is constantly changing for the summer with what I do at work, so it's going to be a week by week kind of thing. I like the 6:30 time slot, but I miss 25% of my audience when I was doing at 12 p.m. Eastern time was Europe, so I kind of miss Europe. But to all the Europeans listening on Spotify and watching the VOD on YouTube, thank you for doing that. Regardless, that is going to do it for today's episode. We're going to go raid somebody. I'm going to start uploading this around. And I apologize for the heaviness of this episode. We try to have fun here. We try to give some credit to some teams who do good in tournaments. We try to point out low-level teams that don't get enough attention who pop off and things. So we'll try to get back to that next week unless some other crazy crap happens this upcoming week. Regardless, who are we going to raid? All of Europe's. Let's raid Takora. Let's raid Takora. Why not? Takora TV. Hey, you want to have more lands in the future? You want to make sure this upcoming Riptide land is actually more safe? Keep wearing your masks and go get vaccinated, you idiots. There was a problem starting the raid. Please try again in a minute. Has it been a minute? There we go. Wear your mask. Get vaccinated. Do the right thing, or never come back here again. Never look at me again, unless you do.